Welcome to Green Building Matters, the original and most popular podcast focused on the green building movement. Your host is Charlie Cicchetti, one of the most credentialed experts in the green building industry and one of the few to be honored as a LEED Fellow. Each week, Charlie welcomes a green building professional from around the globe to share their war stories, career advice, and unique insight into how sustainability is shaping the built environment. So settle in, grab a fresh cup of coffee, and get ready to find out why green building matters.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. I've got a LEED Fellow with us today coming to us from Brazil. I have Luiza Junqueria. Luiza, how you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, I can't wait to learn more about what's going on with green buildings in your part of the world. But just give us that kind of background. So where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
I always lived in São Paulo, Brazil. And I also studied here in São Paulo. I am a daughter of an architect. So my father and my mother they are both architects. And I have always known since I was a little child that I would like to become an architect too. And when I entered in college, I thought I would be those architects famous with famous projects and wonderful houses. And along the way, life took me to the side of consultants and sustainability. And I started unintentionally in an internship program that at the time I used to work with sustainability. I joined it to help a team that at the time it was the third building in Brazil registered seeking LEED. It was the first core and shell in Latin America. And I learned a lot on a daily basis at work. And after a year, I felt prepared to take my LEED AP exam. So my working life was my preparing for the exam. And at the time, I became the first Brazilian student to become a LEED AP. Yes, and it at the time it was only around 40 Brazilians with the LEED AP credential. And so I was amongst 40, but I was the only student.
Wow. Congratulations on that. I mean, a lot of firsts in there, and it's cool having the parents that were architects and you got your degree, but I think you studied more, right? You even got a master's degree. So at what point did you know you really wanted to go back and get the master's and maybe get into some other parts of green buildings? So whether obviously your parents had some influence on you as architects, but did anyone else kind of open some doors or kind of mentor you about green buildings?
Yes, I think it was my first boss in this area of sustainability. Her name is Juliana Malho. She's an engineer, and he became a great friend, but she was my great influence, my mentor in this area.
That's amazing. What were some of those early kind of projects? You mentioned there weren't a lot of LEED buildings at the time. And so is LEED, has that been a really good program in Brazil? Are there some other programs that sometimes your buildings might pursue?
Yes, actually, right now I'm working with 4 or 5 different certification programs. So we have a local certification program focused on houses because LEED homes is not applicable here in Brazil. So we have a national program here. And we also work with LEED, with WELL, with Fitwel, with Edge. And I think that's all right now at the moment.
And how does that conversation go, Luiza, with clients? Do you give them all these options, or do you kind of study the building and make one recommendation? Like, how does it go, say, if a new client came to you?
It depends on the client. When we have a client that don't know anything but wants to go for a green building, we suggest to study the project and understand what is the best sustainability certification program that could best switch to the project. We have the other kind of project, other kind of clients that came to us with a certification system already defined. So they come to us asking for LEED, for example. So it depends. But generally, we suggest the most suitable certification system for the project.
Tell us about your career. Did you work for some other companies? I know you've also done some teaching along the way and been active with the Green Building Council there in Brazil. So tell us about that, and then we'll talk about your current company. So what kind of companies had you worked at as you built your green building career?
I started working in a big consultants firm here. Actually, it's not a consultants firm. It's a real estate company, global real estate company that is Cushman & Wakefield. At that time, they started a new area focused on consultants. And I started as an intern. And I was the first intern to join the team, but I was the first person to join the team. At that time, that was only my boss. She was starting also. And she was also learning about how to make consultants in green buildings. So we worked very closely and learning day by day how to work with LEED certification. The project was already sold to the client, so we had to learn and make it on practice. Then I passed through other consultants firms, small ones, another two that doesn't exist anymore here in Brazil. In 2015, I founded Luiza Junqueria together with my partner, Eduardo. I've been working in my own company ever since. Yeah, it's a small one, but I love what I do, and we are getting bigger year by year.
It's amazing. No, I can tell you're one of the experts in your region, of course. And so yeah, tell us, what's keeping you busy today. So what kind of work and services do you do at your company? And what are some cool projects maybe you're working on?
Right now, I have a book of different projects from homes, like I said. So we have different projects of homes. All of those, coincidentally, are working with wood construction. So it's a very new technology and a very important technology here in Brazil and all over the world. So all of those is wood and structured. And I have projects from commercial interiors, commercial buildings, retail. I have many different kind of projects, and from the small one to a biggest one. And I think that right now, the most important project that I'm working on is a new headquarters of a major technology company. It's an American company, but they are presented in all over. And they are building the new headquarters here in São Paulo. It's a biggest project. And probably it will be LEED Platinum. We are working hard on it, and probably it will be Platinum.
Oh, it's amazing. What a cool project. And, it seems like these big companies look to you to do that work. So, and that's rare, I find, Luiza, that you do the residential and the commercial, right? Maybe, here in the U.S., my firm, we do all commercial. We don't do the residential. So is that unique there in Brazil that you're able to do both residential and commercial?
Yeah, I believe that here in Brazil, we don't have many consultants firms, and we don't have many specialists in certification systems here in Brazil. So all the firms work with all kinds of projects. And it's actually the residential projects is the small part of our work. The commercial one that have more demand, but I think that here in Brazil, everyone works with everything.
How are healthy buildings right now? Obviously, pandemic, unfortunately, it seems to be continuing here at the time we're recording this podcast. I know you've got some credentials, well, and Fitwel, of course. So, you're starting to see some well and Fitwel projects, or maybe well health safety rating? Is that important? How do I know this is a healthy building? Is that happening?
Yes, definitely. It's growing here. It was growing before pandemic, and during the pandemic, we saw a huge importance and many clients asking us for these certification systems, especially in the commercial buildings and also the residential ones. We were a pioneer here in Brazil with the WELL certification. I was responsible for the first certified WELL project in Brazil, but also in Latin America back in 2016. And now we have many projects pursuing WELL and also Fitwel. We start working with Fitwel late, about last year, but it took a great importance here also. And we also started working with the health safety rating. But yes, it's growing here. It's taking a very importance here also. I think it's a global movement, but here it's already working also.
You're right. No, that's good. Thank you. So important right now. It's not just what's our impact on the environment, a program like LEED, what's our impact on the people and just the health and everything we're going through. So, well, Luiza, look back on, your career, your life so far. What are a few proud achievements? Like what comes to mind? What's on the highlight reel? What are you really proud of?
I think first is having certified the first LEED school project in Brazil and also in Latin America, and also the first WELL project in Brazil and Latin America. Not only for the pioneering spirit, but the importance of these two projects. The school one, because I truly believe that education is a way to change society. And the WELL one, given the importance that we know that investing in health building is very important to people. So it was two pioneering projects here. And last but not least, becoming LEED Fellow.
That's a big one. I know it's meant a lot to you. The LEED for Schools program, for those listening to the podcast, maybe you don't work on K through 12 schools. I love that program. I can tell your passion there, Luiza. You do too. It's such a good program. So I really love to hear that. And yeah, congrats on LEED Fellow. So what has that meant to you? I know you got that right last year. And so what did that mean for you?
Oh, it's a very important achievement in my career, definitely. Like you said, I teach here some classes from university to GBC classes to prepare students to become LEED GA, LEED AP. And every time that I start my class, I explain to them the difference of the credentials. So what is a LEED GA, what is a LEED AP? And then I tell them that exists another classification of LEED expert that is LEED Fellow, but there's not a test to become a LEED Fellow. It's a process that you pass through and then you achieve, but you need to have at least 10 years of experience, have to work on many different projects and everything that you know. And they always asked me, wow, but why don't you are a LEED Fellow? I'm talking about 2 or 3 years ago. And I explained to them that I wasn't prepared to become a LEED Fellow yet. It was my target at the time. And now I believe the 4th person here in Brazil to become a LEED Fellow. So it's very new here and it's very important. I don't know. I think because of the importance of it to me, I always teach it that to my students. I always talked about LEED Fellow and how relevant it was, the career of someone who works with LEED. So I believe that it's very important to me. It was a very important achievement.
Well, congratulations again, and just well-deserved. Tell us about the teaching, because I know when I look at your LinkedIn profile, a professor here, teach here, so it seems like you love to teach. So what kind of classes are you teaching? And tell us about that.
Yes, I love to teach. And also, when I was in the university, someday a colleague told me, "Oh, you know a lot of sustainability. You should teach it someday." And I said, "No, it's not for me. I don't like to teach. No, it doesn't fit to me." But life took me to this way. I was invited when I was very young. I was just graduated, and an old professor asked me if I would like to have experience to teach a class of him. And I did, and I like it. And so I started to teach in different schools, and also in GBC. And I teach mainly sustainability issues related to construction. So sustainable buildings is the most thing that I teach. But I also teach general sustainability concerns like ESG and everything related to sustainability, climate change, and so on.
Exciting. I can tell you got excited. I'm sure the students are like, yes, I get it. I need to know about green buildings and sustainability. So it's great. All right. I'd love to ask this question. What are you reading up on? What's around the corner? So the green building movement, the healthy building movement, that's what we do. But what do you think is next? What do you think is trending? What's next?
I don't know if it's trending, but...
Or you can think way out there, hey, we need our buildings to do, what are you hopeful on?
Actually, I believe that we need to make green buildings more inclusive and accessible to all. Climate change is an urgent issue, and it affects mainly the most vulnerable people. So I truly believe that we have to give access and quality buildings, sustainable buildings for everyone, and not only the commercial buildings. And we need to make it inclusive without exception to all. I don't think it's a trend, but I think it's a must do when we are responsible to that.
Are you seeing more like ESG reporting and carbon? I mean, just what's the new language that we need to be talking right now?
The new language, it's already here. It's the ESG. Actually, it's not new. We know that ESG have been exist for a long time. But now with the climate change urgent and all the investors looking for ESG investments, we need to prepare everyone to be in this boat. And here, especially here in Brazil, all the construction firms, all the real estate firms are with open eyes and trying to understand how to fit the ESG requirements. So we have a lot of work on it, a lot of work to do on it, and we are trying to help them to make it easy, but make them understand that it's very important.
Well, let's talk a little more about you. Let's talk about what do you think is your specialty or gift?
Actually, I don't believe that I have a specialty or a gift. I think that in my career, I've been always I've been always interested in everything related to sustainability in an holistic way. So I believe that I'm very generalist, and I don't think being generalist is a bad thing. I think it's very important. So I have a holistic view of sustainability. So I cannot say that I'm very expert, that I'm very good in something specific, for example, energy efficiency or materials, but I know a little bit of about everything. And I think it's very important to my consultants' experience and work.
Love it. That's good stuff. Do you have any good habits or rituals? Like what keeps you productive?
I think maintaining a routine of studies frequently. I believe that in our area, we cannot stop study at any time. New technologies and new studies are released every day. So I think it's very important to study and keep a routine of studying frequently.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about bucket list. I'm a fan of a bucket list. Just kind of, hey, what, any adventure, any travel, maybe you want to write a book. I don't know. What are a couple things that you really look forward to? Well, wish list. American saying, before you kick the bucket, before you end of life, what are some things you want to do, accomplish, travel, experience? So in other words, just what are some other experiences that you want to have, maybe even travel or adventure? What are one or two things?
Okay. Yes, I love to travel. I love to know different cultures. And so I'd like to travel much more. Now in the pandemic, we've been forbidden to do that. But now, currently, I am pregnant of my second child. So I need to calm down, and I won't have time to travel until he is born. And after he's born, I would like to go back to a formal education. And I don't know. I need to find a way to conciliate all of these things that I would like to do. Work a lot. I love to work with what I do, but I also would like to spend more time with my child and to travel and to new different cultures. I don't know. I don't believe that I have something specific now. I think that these desires, these wish lists are changing every day and depending on the moments of our lives. So for now, I'd like to stay calm and be prepared to receive my new child.
Well, congrats. That's exciting times. And sure, travel's tough right now. Once all this passes and the little one gets a little older, is there maybe one place, though, you really want to go to in the future? One destination?
Yes.
Where are you? Just one, yeah.
Just one. It's difficult because there's a lot of places that I'd like to be. But I believe that I'd like to go to, in English, I don't know if it's right, Iceland.
Iceland?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been watching some programs from Iceland, and I went in love for that place, so I'd like to be there.
Not been yet. It's on my bucket list, so it'd be cool.
Yes.
Let's talk about books. Is there a book you would recommend? Maybe it's one you've read. It doesn't even have to be about green building. It's just a good book you'd recommend.
You know that almost all the books that I read is related to green building or to sustainability. Right now, I just started to read the new book of Bill Gates, but it's very in the beginning. But last year, I read 2 books during the pandemic that helped me make sure that sustainable building, but not sustainable building, but also the health buildings are very important to everyone, which were Health Buildings by Joseph Allen and John McCumber, and The Great Indoors by Emily Ents. That was 2 books that I really like it and I recommend.
Oh, great. Well, in the podcast show notes for everybody listening, I'll put links to the books here. So good. Luiza, as we come to a close, I have 2 final questions. One is with your career. Is there anything you wish you'd have known earlier in your career? Any career advice you wish you'd have had earlier?
I believe first is to have a holistic understanding of sustainability, not just a general sustainable engineering. If you would like to work with sustainability, we need to have an understanding more holistic, and because everything is connected. So climate change is here. And us as an architect, as an engineer, we have a huge responsibility to fight against climate change. And second, never stop studying. It's very important to keep studying, keep it frequently in your career because, like I said, it's changing every day. So I think this is my 2 advices.
No, it's great advice. I guess my last question is, if someone's listening to this podcast right now and they've really been inspired by your story, and who knows, they might be down in Brazil where you are, what words of encouragement do you have for them if they're just now thinking of getting into green buildings?
A word of encouragement?
Yeah, just advice for them if they're starting now in green buildings. Is this a good place to be? What's the energy like?
Believe in it. So if you like it, believe it. It's a very, very, how can I say, you can collect the fruits that you plant. And if you like to work with it, it's very good. You have a good reward and very good to know that you are working with something that make a huge impact in the society, not only to you, but to everyone. So go on and believe in it. And it's very, very good. It's you have a reward and in your soul. So it's very good.
Thank you. Thank you for those words of encouragement. To everyone listening, connect on LinkedIn with Luiza here. Let her know what you thought of her story. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile and just, congratulations on all of your green building work, commercial, residential, your LEED fellow, and just all those firsts that you told us about today. But thank you for being on the podcast, and I really enjoyed learning more about your story. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to our loyal listeners. We actually are celebrating over 1 year here on the Green Building Matters podcast. Me and the entire team were stoked and just so glad you continue to listen every Wednesday morning to a new interview with a green building professional here in this industry, or just some pro tips that we want to make sure that you are getting straight from us, straight to you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Green Building Matters podcast. At gbes.com, our mission is to advance the green building movement through best-in-class education and encouragement. Remember, you can go to gbes.com/podcast for any notes and links that we mentioned in today's episode. And you can actually see the other episodes that have already been recorded with our amazing guests. Please tell your friends about this podcast. Tell your colleagues. And if you really enjoyed it, leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on next week's episode.